won't kill me out of some misplaced sense of self-righteousness. And I won't kill you because you're just too much fun. I think you and I are destined to do this forever.
Why, oh why doesn't the Batman just kill the Joker? He's just gonna get out again, kill again, blow up another courthouse, blow up another bank, another park with children, blow up another Lois Lane. Why, oh why doesn't the Batman just kill the Joker? And lo and behold, we got our Batman who kills. First, a bit reluctantly.
I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you.
And then just... I guess it's cool. There are 3 comic book characters created in the complex stew of United States culture that embody the colloquially named no-kill rule. That would be Daredevil, SpiderMan, and Batman. The no-kill rule is an unreasonable honor code, like your moral misgivings times 1,000. And the code is simple: never kill. It is so strong that you're compelled to risk your life to save someone who just tried to kill your children. Or worst, I don't know, use your imagination. This no-kill rule, though practiced by Daredevil, is a core part of Batman and Spider-Man's characters, plots, and intrigues. Yet, many comic book fans, and most who aren't, will deride them for the no-kill rule. One angle of criticism is holding the actions of the villains over their heads. So, for example, Batman didn't kill the Joker, so when the Joker escapes Arkham and kills more people, it's like Batman killed those people. The other argument is that killing is morally the right thing to do in many of the situations they find themselves in, with almost their entire roster of terrible villainy. For example, again, Joker's about to kill Robin, so it would be wrong for Batman to hold back in any way whatsoever, which he definitely needs to do if he's going to try and not kill the Joker. Finally, it doesn't make sense. Nobody in their position, with their ambitions of fighting such horrible villains and saving as many lives as they can, would make a vow not to kill. That one doesn't need examples. Now, the most that people can understand is usually something akin to comic book Superman or cinematic universe Spider-Man, the only cinematic hero who isn't basically Punisher because his supervillains keep killing themselves by accident while Spider-Man holds out his hand like, no, don't, no, gosh. They don't want to kill. They don't like killing. They'll try not killing, but come on, circumstances sometimes. So, I am here to argue against each of those arguments and hopefully convince you of the heroism and importance of the no-kill rule. I will argue that it makes sense for Daredevil, Spider-Man, and Batman each. I will argue that we are being unfair by placing the actions of the villains on the shoulders of the heroes who sacrificed everything to try and stop them. Finally, I will argue that the no-kill rule is the right thing to do in their circumstances for their characters. That honor code is not only right, but a valorous characteristic core to their success, myth, and the heroism that thousands have aspired to and been inspired by. First, we will start with the Daredevil and the legal argument. Matt Murdock, when he was just a good Christian boy, suffered a terrible accident that took away his sight. But by the grace of God, allegedly, all his other senses were enhanced. His hearing got amped up so that he has a bat-like sonar, only 1,000,000 times more overpowered. His sense of touch made it possible to become the greatest of acrobats and fighters by using his 3-dimensional substitute vision. His smell and taste are probably heightened too. I don't know, they don't come up as much. In any case, when he grows up to become a good Christian man, he decides to dress like the devil and beat people up for justice. No, but here's the cool thing about the character. He's the Daredevil at night, beating up criminals, gathering evidence of their crimes, and then delivering everything to the police. Then during the day, he's a lawyer, prosecuting those criminals. Because he's such a good Christian man, he will also act like a defense lawyer for others. You have a lot of subplots like that. So here is the legal argument, and it's a pretty simple one. If a tree falls and nobody's around to hear it, did it really fall? Obviously. But a more complex question. If a person dies and nobody knows they committed a crime, did a criminal die or an innocent person? Historically, an innocent person was punished. Now, Matt Murdock is a liar. A lawyer. A lawyer. Freudian slip there. He is specifically of American law, and you know how the mythical adages go. Innocent until proven guilty, crowd of peers, punishment fits the crime, blah, 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 blah. To kill a guy who was stabbing someone else might be sound punishment from the perspective of the stabbee, of course. They know the guy had it coming. But Matt Murdock, Christian lawyer, has the perspective that a person needs to be proven before history to be a criminal in order to be punished. Their criminal nature needs to be a registered fact, or the punishment is just not, well, just. It isn't just. Also, he wants to help people. He doesn't want to be a criminal, and stopping a crime isn't a crime unless you're committing a crime. I'll pause to let you think about that. So while a good man's conscience might well deal with crimes like breaking and entering and assault and battery, killing is a heck of a step up, and one which prohibits the criminalization of the individual. We cannot have cautionary tales that shepherd the community doing things like that. And he is, at the end of the day, an agent of the community, or he wants to be, as a good Christian lawyer. There's no way the community can trust someone who follows no rules. And what are the easiest rules to understand? The ones everyone also follows. The law. Now for Spider-Man and the moral argument. Peter Parker was bit by a radioactive spider, gained a vague precognition ability plus enhanced strength, agility, and durability, stickiness to walls. He got super cocky and used the power to make some money for himself. Got swindled out of that money. Robber showed up to rob the swindler. Spider-Man's like, ha! Justice! Guy got robbed off the money he stole from me. Robber goes on to kill good, famous, most popular one-sentence man, Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. Anyway, the moral argument is the argument of consequences. This short tale is why, quoting Wolverine, Spider-Man would blame himself for the rain if he could. This is a guy who gained an instinct towards the dangerous intrinsicies of the butterfly effect. I'll put it plainly. He lets criminal go. What happens then? Other people get hurt, and it's his fault because he could have stopped them and delivered them to the police. He kills the criminal. What happens then? Well, there are two things that could happen. One, Spider-Man is a guy that goes swinging around, patrolling, and decides to step into situations without having a clear idea of what's going on. Now, he beats up someone he shouldn't have. Not too terrible. A bummer for sure. He kills them, though? That's a mistake more haunting than his uncle dying. And getting the wrong person has happened a lot to Spider-Man. Second angle, what happens to criminals if Spider-Man is going around killing people? What do purse snatchers do now that they're risking their lives and not just a beating? What about people involved with the criminals? Hell, sometimes villains will die by themselves and the family or friends will still come for revenge. Can you imagine if you're killing people? Add to that the fact that he is no Batman. He's a guy with actual superpowers. He can dodge bullets. He can lift up cars. He can throw away bikes. Like, it would be a lot more intimidating if he kills people than if the Punisher is going around with a gun. He would just be kickstarting and feeding a cycle of violence and killings that is unstoppable. You have a much better idea of what can happen when you are able to stop a criminal without killing him. Maybe they get out again and you have to stop them again. But that's the worst of it, and it's a level of bad that you can't foresee, predict. A lot of people are in the position and with the willingness to stop it. But all those other webs of fate?
You can't leave something like that to chance.
I'm not.
Finally, the Batman. His mythos is so intrinsically drowning in the no-kill rule that I can find two arguments for it. After all, he's probably the big DC name for whom not killing is the most difficult of challenges. Not only because of the power difference between him and his peers, but because of the evil and even monstrous nature of his enemies. So first, Bruce Wayne, rich son of rich parents who get randomly killed by some two-bit thief. He goes nuts, trains for many years to become the most fearsome fighter in the world, puts on a costume to use terror tactics on the criminals, and gets to work on Gotham, the most crime-ridden place in the globe. Let us start with the ethical argument. Simple as the concept of personal responsibility. Batman is not taking on the responsibility for punishing criminals, for deciding what punishment fits their crimes. He knows he's unhinged. He doesn't trust his judgment on how to punish people for their crimes, and he's smart not to, because he probably carries a lot of very deadly resentment associated with common thievery. Let alone when we're talking about a homicidal monster like the Scarecrow. He shouldn't be deciding on the fates of criminals because he won't be just, so he doesn't. He just stops them and delivers them to those who will, who have taken on that responsibility which he doesn't want. Then the spiritual argument, which is the one writers most play around with, and the only one that truly is unique to the Batman. Do monstrous things, and you may yet become a monster. The Batman was trained by one of his greatest enemies, Ra's al Ghul, whose view towards criminals is the same as the Punisher's. Kill them all. Batman is, quite honestly, the greatest assassin in the world, if not for the fact that he hasn't assassinated anyone, because he doesn't want to be that. And what will he be if he starts killing people? Not who he wants to be. He will be who Ra's al Ghul wants him to be, an assassin, a monster like the ones he repeatedly tries to stop, like Ra's al Ghul, Talia al Ghul, and any other member of the League of Assassins. Not a peacekeeper, a helper, a savior, a hero. The person that he wants to be, doing what he wants to do. He would be simply someone who did what came easy to him.
I never said thank you. And you'll never have to.
In conclusion, these three characters go above and beyond the call of duty of the common citizen, putting their lives at risk to capture and detain criminals, and then eventually deliver them to the police, depending on the crime they stopped. That alone is a tricky gray area to navigate as far as the law is concerned. But dealing with executions? If these people need to die so much, argue for the death penalty. Don't force people who don't want to have blood on their hands to stain their hands, and in their perspective, their soul, spirit, heart, sense of self, and so many other things. These characters, they want to help, and they can, they do. And that strength of character inspires hundreds upon hundreds of people, most of them other superheroes. Because holding true to a principle through thick and thin, when all around you is nothing but injustice and pain, that has value. That has great value. That is what made Batman and Spider-Man the most popular fictional characters in modern history, perhaps all history. Again, what they do is not enough. We would demand further of them than to risk their lives to apprehend terrible criminals. We would demand that they sink to the level where they yield their power, however they see fit, answering to no one, least of all their own sense of morality, of right and wrong. We shouldn't, and it used to be we wouldn't, but we do now. We ask that of all our heroes. A hero nowadays is someone who's strong enough to do what's necessary, instead of being strong enough to do what's right. I myself rather aspire to the latter. I myself am much more inspired by the latter.